Keep it going for Neshama Franklin. Neshama Franklin, come on up. Here she comes. We're going to need our aisle, our ad hoc aisle here for Neshama.
So I was the accident waiting to happen, but the big accident had already happened to my son. My brilliant alcoholic son was now brain damaged. And you can imagine what was on my plate: financial, emotional, legal, and then it was his house, which he had essentially destroyed and which I had to fix up to afford his care. And there I was at this house that had kind of gotten cleaned. I was outside, and the little pieces of glass kept pushing up through the ground, kind of like a horrid crop, even though they had cleaned it up. And I was waiting for someone to help me, and that person didn't come, and I was getting madder and madder and was wound so tight. But I'm a very practical person. I said, okay, the brush pile is there. The waste container is there. They're still picking it up. I can get rid of that brush pile. So I climbed up these slippery stairs, and as I hoisted, kind of leaning back, that big, green waste can, I kept saying to myself, this is stupid. This is a bad idea. But I'm very determined. And so I got there and I pulled on a piece of brush, and I discovered that brush, when left to itself, kind of anneals. It doesn't want to leave. So there was no pulling out brush, and there was no loading brush. And I turned into disgust, and my clog slipped on the wet ground, and the waste container, which was open, went that way, and I went that way, and I did a face plant in this waste container, prone. And so there I was, and my hands were stuck under the handle, held down by my body weight. It was an impossible situation, and no one was around. And I couldn't get up, and out came the string of expletives, but it didn't do any good. And then I did what mothers do, when their kid is under a Volkswagen. I kind of flipped myself over and I got up. And I looked at my hand, and one finger was unrecognizable. And I fished my glasses out. They still worked. And I staggered across the street, and I drove 2 blocks to the clinic, and I kind of came in like Frankenstein. And they patched me up, and I asked for drugs, which I never do because I knew it was going to hurt like a son of a bitch. And then somebody drove me to the emergency room, and this shows who I am. I had the presence of mind to bring a New Yorker in, because as soon as they saw that I was not going to exsanguinate, they put me on a gurney. And so I read the New Yorker kind of like this until I got stitched up. There were a lot of stitches. But I said to the doctor, well, I can go to work on Monday, right? I'll just do everything with the other hand. I had a baseball mitt of a bandage on. And he said, you're crazy. This is your prescription. You're going to take out DVDs, bonbons. I said, well, what about Pilates and dancing? And he said, short, flat walks. And so basically the accident waiting to happen was my son his brain was in pieces, and my entire self was undone. I couldn't work, I couldn't exercise, I couldn't even write. And I thought I was going to turn to mush. This is what really happened. In that 2 months I was off from work, my son was at hand, and we took these long, slow walks, and I got to know him sober for the first time in decades. And he had a purity of soul with his brain damage. Indeed, our conversations were circular, but they had content. And so that accident gave me what I never expected. They say there is more wisdom in my little finger than I would ever know. Look, it bends beautifully, and it gave me time to realize that I'm not the sum of those external parts, and that I could connect with the son that I needed to at the time. Thank you.
I'll help you with that.